Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something huge, a deal that's been cooking for almost 20 years and might just change the game for global trade. We're talking about the massive new free trade agreement between India and the European Union.
All right, so let's get right into it. This isn't your average run-of-the-mill trade pact. I mean, the people who actually put it together gave it this epic nickname. When you have leaders from both India and the EU calling it the mother of all deals, you just know it's a big one. So what's all the fuss about? Why is this so significant?
Well, for one thing, the scale is just mind-blowing. We're talking about a free trade zone that covers 2 billion people. Think about that. You've got India's 1.4 billion people, plus everyone in the entire 27-nation European Union, all in one block.
And hey, it's not just about the number of people, right? It's about economic power. Together, India and the EU make up a full 25% of the entire world's GDP. You've got the world's fourth largest economy and the second largest economy coming together in this massive partnership. It's a huge deal.
And get this, they're not starting from scratch. They already trade over $213 billion worth of goods and services every year. This deal, it's basically designed to pour gasoline on that fire and send that number through the roof. So you gotta wonder, after almost 20 years of on-again, off-again talks, this thing started way back in 2007. Then it stalled, then it was back on in 2022. What did they finally manage to pull off? Well, it's nothing short of a major breakthrough. Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's just do a super quick refresh on what we're talking about. A free trade agreement, or FTA, is really simple at its core. It's a deal between countries to get rid of the stuff that makes trading expensive and difficult, things like taxes or tariffs. The whole point is to make it way easier and cheaper for them to do business with each other.
Okay, so let's break it down. First up, what's in it for India? What does a deal like this actually mean for the fastest-growing major economy on the planet?
And you can see the impact right away. For some of India's biggest employment sectors, this is absolutely huge. Look at textiles and clothes. Tariffs that were as high as 12%, gone, zero. And for leather goods and shoes, a massive 17% tariff just wiped out completely. That is a total game changer for industries that support millions of jobs. But it's not just about things you can ship in a box. It goes way deeper. We're talking about over 99% of all Indian exports getting special treatment in the EU market. That's a massive leg up, especially for smaller businesses. Plus, it opens up huge opportunities for India's powerful services industry. IT, finance, all that. And, really important here, it even makes it easier for skilled Indian professionals to work in Europe. All of this while making sure to protect sensitive areas at home, like farming. But of course, any good deal has to work for both sides, right? So let's flip the coin. What does the European Union get out of this? Well, the opportunities for them are just as big. And here's one of the biggest prizes for Europe. Before this, a European car company trying to sell in India faced tariffs up to 110%. That's a massive wall. This deal just demolishes it, slashing that tariff down to just 10% for a big chunk of vehicles every year. All of a sudden, the world's third largest car market is wide open. And the savings are just incredible. We're talking about European companies saving something like 4 billion euros in taxes every single year. That's a ton of cash that can go right back into creating new products, expanding, and hiring more people.
And just like we saw with India, the benefits for the EU go way beyond just cars. More than 96% of EU goods will now have lower or even zero tariffs in India. So yeah, that means things like wine and chocolate will have an easier time, but also a lot of heavy hitters, machinery, chemicals, medicines. The big goal here? They're hoping to actually double the amount of stuff the EU sells to India by 2032.
Okay, but this whole thing isn't just about money and trade. There's a bigger story here. And the really interesting question is, why now? Why did a deal that was stuck for almost 2 decades suddenly get done? To get that, we need to look at what was happening in the rest of the world. So if you look at this timeline, you see the story. The talks kicked off in 2007, then hit a wall around 2013. But then, look, they suddenly fire back up in 2022. What changed? Well, the whole world changed. Global trade was getting messy, more protectionist, and I think both India and the EU looked around and realized, hey, we need friends we can count on. That created this new sense of urgency that just wasn't there before. And the news headlines back then really nailed it. The story wasn't just trade deal signed. It was framed as a smart, strategic move, a response to trade fights happening elsewhere.
It was about both India and the EU wanting to build new partnerships, to not have all their eggs in one basket. It was about creating this powerful economic alliance built on the idea of shared democratic values.
So all of this brings us to the big question, right? What does this mean for the future? Is this just another trade deal about cutting taxes, or is it something more, something bigger?
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways? 1, it creates this absolutely enormous free trade zone of 2 billion people. 2, it's a huge economic win for major industries on both sides. 3, it's a strategic partnership, a way to find some stability in a very uncertain global trade environment. And 4, because of all that, it really could be a new model, a new blueprint for how major democracies work together.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. When the world's largest democracies come together to build what they're calling a partnership for global good, are we watching the rules of the game change in real time? Is this a shift away from all the trade fights and toward a new kind of collaboration? Are we seeing the new rules of international trade being written right before our eyes? It's a pretty powerful idea. Thanks so much for tuning in.